Welcome all of you to Tao Guan and the study of the Tao with Dr. Alex Fang. What a wonderful evening, because I see some people I see almost every month, some people I haven't seen in lots of months, and some new people, so that's very exciting for us. Let me just start with a little explanation for those of you that are new, what you can expect. And then after I tell you that may not be at all what happens. So that's called the Tao, and the Way of the Tao with Dr. Fang. Get used to it. Those of you that have been here know exactly what I'm talking about. Tao Guan is a Taoist center, the first Taoist center in the East Bay that encompasses the three aspects of Taoism, which is the healing, the physical, and the spiritual. The healing, Dr. Fang's traditional Chinese medicine practice. The physical, his Wu Dao Guan Institute of Martial Arts. And the spiritual, where you are now, within both the virtual and the physical building of Tao Guan. Taoism is a way of looking at and interpreting Tao and the Taoism, which has evolved from Dr. Alex Fang's father, Dr. Weiren Fang, when he was in China. A noted scholar, philosopher, historian, Dr. Weiren Fang comes from a long tradition of Taoist practitioners, priests, and masters, and raised Dr. Alex Fang within the culture of the Taoist path. When they came to the United States, Dr. Fang looked at some of the alternatives to Taoism and to his traditional culture, and thank goodness for all of us, decided to stay within the path of Taoism and Chinese medicine and the martial arts. So he opened his first school of martial arts in the early 70s, and I guess I shouldn't tell you that he practiced acupuncture before it was legal, but he did. So he studied for traditional Chinese medicine and worked with very noted masters as an apprentice, as well as going to Samurai University to get his doctorate in Oriental medicine, and then opened his traditional Chinese medicine clinic. Through both of those practices, he always infused his understanding and his evolution of understanding of the Tao as his father had taught him, through many long hours of sitting at his foot and being talked to. Someone said to him once, "It must have been great. You got to sit and have these conversations with your dad and query him about Taoism and find out the real truths of what the Taoist path is." And I believe Dr. Fang said, yes, if you don't mind sitting and being talked to for 7 hours without really having anything yourself to say, it was quite an experience. And I know those of you that have been with us realize that many of the stories and the teachings that you hear come down through this lineage, and that very often when you have a question, it will be met with another question. And that really is the Taoist path. The answers are not within this building, not within Dr. Fang, or even with the Tao itself, but actually within you. And you're in Tao Guan, a place with the view of the ultimate way, which really resides within yourself. And this is a path, an instruction, guidance, which is sometimes gentle and sometimes not, on how to polish your own internal pearl or blue light to lead a path that is nourishing for you as well as those you love. Getting ready for tonight's class was a little difficult for me. I felt very, was it this kind of month or what? Maybe it's been this kind of year. Just a lot of energy, a lot going on, a lot of negativity, some very profound things within our community here in Oakland over the last 2 weeks that you can't help but feel sorrow for. And as I thought about it, you always say, okay, a good Taoist would, and I think for myself, because that's where we come back to, is you as a Taoist, how do you handle the spiraling down economy, the continuing wars, and now very loudly the wars and deaths in our own neighborhoods and our own streets. And I think for me, honoring what happened rather than saying, I'm going to move to, let's see, where would I move to? Back home to Ohio. You know, my brother-in-law has offered Dr. Fang 5 acres in the country in rural Ohio. If he'd just come. So every once in a while we kid and say, oh, you know, the crime and the cost, we still have those 5 acres. But we're very committed to here. And I think as Taoists, all of you have your own similarly committed paths. And so for me, one of the things I'd like to do tonight is really just name the people who were killed on the streets in those 2 weeks, and have us give a moment of silence for them. And in that silence, to remind yourself not only how precious life is and how quickly it can be taken, but also that we will continue to have what I'm going to call chaos, because that's how it feels to me. You might have another word for it. But the chaos of people being brutal to each other, people hurting themselves so much that they feel they need to take from others in order to survive. I think that we've talked many times that those things don't change until each of us as individuals find a way to change it within ourselves and then within our families, and then it comes out to the community. Certainly there are things we can do on a community basis, you know, pay more taxes, get more police. But as a Taoist, I really believe that's not the answer. The answer is really the peace within yourself and being able to show people a path that doesn't have to be fraught with such violence. Let us just take a moment of silence for the 4 people. And I know that there have been many memorials and ceremonies, but I think for each of us to send our own thoughts to these men, to their families, and the communities that they embraced. Mark Dunnican, Irv Romans, Daniel Sakai, John Hagee, and Lavelle Mixon. Thank you. And I would like to recognize for us, and I hope each of you have a spot of like this in your life, is that it's often at times like this when things just feel so impossible, and how did we get here, and do we have to stay here, and as a community can we get to a better place, that some brightness comes your way. Maybe it's a star in the sky, a pretty flower that pops up. For us, it was our little granddaughter, Teresa, who's sitting on the floor next to Grandpa, who's decided to come and spend some weekends with us and work in the clinic and take Qigong class. And it's been a very big gift to us. I know she's a little nervous about having to sit there and look at everybody, but I said, these are the greatest people. They'll welcome you, as she welcomes you. And with that, I'll turn it over to her grandpa, Dr. Fang.
Thank you, Shani. Welcome, everyone. Who is first time here? Quite a few. Okay. Shani said this is this place called Zhidao Guan. Zhi means ultimate or extreme or utmost. And the character written by my father, explained by my father, was the character Zhi is written with 2 lines, one on top, one on the bottom, and a triangle, a circle, and a cross in between. So you have yin and yang between this open boundary of space. And the way he explained it is to understand the yin and yang is created in this open space, and it's defined only by boundaries that you placed on the definition of the name on the moment, on the concept of reality. If I'm going too fast, just let me know. If I'm going too slow, let me know. So 智, Dao is that which cannot be talked about. And Shaolin is absolutely right. There's absolutely no reason for you to find Dao here. There's no reason for you to find Dao there. Because here and there is in the realm of differences. So we say the way to experience Tao is to walk that space, that pathway, ways, Tao. That is truly you. And what does that mean, truly you? So when I ask you, who are you? Yeah, you.
Name's Amanda.
Sorry?
Amanda.
Amanda is a name. Right? So the second sentence of Tao Te Ching is 名可名非常名. So if you can name your name as Amanda, or any name, once you can name, you no longer can express everything about you. Right? I mean, there are lots of Amandas out there. How do I know this Amanda is not the same as that Amanda? So we say when you can name something, it's no longer truth. So we say go beyond the concept of truth. Go beyond the concept of naming. Walk in the space, in the walk, in the path. Tao means walk or path or blah blah, speak. Walk in that which cannot be defined, cannot be named. Well, isn't that kind of confusing? We say, yeah, it can be. There's two ways to approach that. One way you can just say, what's happening? What's happening? You observe. You observe. A student asked me today at Contra Costa College, what's the difference between technique and practice? What's the difference between technique and practice? Because we talked about Qigong. There are many different styles of Qigong, techniques of Qigong. You can inhale, you can exhale. You can go between the breath, called no breath state. You can do Taoist Qigong, what we do here. You can do medical Qigong, what we do here. You can do some Buddhist Qigong. We introduce that here as well. We do medical Qigong, martial art Qigong, Lei Qi, there's lots of Confucianist Qigong for different purpose. So what's the difference between these technique and the practice of these things? So I didn't know how to answer. I said, okay, let's review this question. What's the difference? Is there a difference between your practice and your technique? Is the technique that you do your practice? What would that be, your practice? And would your practice involve certain kind of ritual or ways, techniques? So they're really no different. Ultimately, what it is for? We go to the next question. What is your practice and your techniques for? Well, you have a goal. Right? It's for enlightenment. It's for good health. It's for bringing happiness. So if the practice and the technique is no different than what it's for, then you become what it's for. Makes sense, doesn't it? So we say, try not to create differences. Live in a space of wuji. Wuji is the great void. Great void is kind of like the existence of all potential. I live in the space of existence of all potential. I observe. I don't get involved. Because getting involved makes you name, makes you attached. So we say, be an observer. Doesn't mean you don't get involved. You know, if you're out of the bathroom, you gotta go to the bathroom. I'm not saying don't get involved. Don't be attached to your involvement. So when you go to the bathroom, you're not attached to what you eliminated. All right? Or are you? Sorry. So we're saying, take part of what you need to take part in. What is your calling? You need to figure that out. What is your calling? You know, what feels comfortable. We say, what is 自然? What's natural to you? Natural. Be in the natural state. Just be natural. Be yourself. The word 自然 we talked about the last time. 自 means self. 然 means let it be. Let it be. Let it be me. Let it be yourself. You know? That's nature. Nature means natural. Natural means you. I am. So we say to be a good Taoist.
I was just trying to see if you were listening.
I was. Because when you speak of a good Taoist, then you must assume there's a bad Taoist. Then you have to make a decision, is like I was sitting up there, a good Taoist or a bad Taoist. Maybe a little good, a little bad, maybe a little gray. All kinds of things starts happening in your mind. So we say, don't go there. Don't go to the world of duality. Too busy. Because you can go one way infinitely, you can go the other way infinitely. You know, you can get confused infinitely. So we say, never mind that. Just go with yourself. Just go with this. So a student asked another question, a brilliant question. Says, how do you go, how do you work with perception? I said, perception? He says, yes. What you see, what you hear, what you smell, what you know, what you touch, what you feel. Your perception. We decide by perception, right? Each one of you has this culture you come from. You have parents who taught you certain things. You have a society, school that teach you certain things. You don't have a culture that teach you certain things. If you move from culture to culture, you learn there are different ways to do different things, but there's still like rules, you know, codes of conduct, codes of thinking. Obligatory. Oh, nice word, I like that word. Obligatory thoughts. Loyalty, honor, love. Those are obligatory thoughts. You must have that, right? You must have love, you know. You must have a sense of community. You must. Anyway, thoughts. So we say, come closer. Come closer. Don't be shy, come closer. She says, I can't hear you, but I want to come closer. There's a seat here for you.
All right.
Thank you. I'm a soft-spoken person, and sometimes the mic doesn't work very well. Like the battery runs out, like right now. Mikey, did you put a new battery in?
No.
Oh, you didn't? If you go into my room, my office, Mikey, you have a battery?
No.
Oh, if you go to my, she knows where it is? Yes. You can do whatever you like. Just be comfortable. Yeah. Just be comfortable. It's very important to be comfortable. A great Taoist master would ask once, how do you practice Tao? So I'm tired, I sleep. I'm hungry, I eat. Be natural. It doesn't mean that you ignore everything else around you, right? We're all one. So what you do affects the other one. So we say. What was the question?
How does your perception? How do you work with perception?
Very nice. Hey, follow the ball. Good student. Oh, if you go into my office, you can try. I don't know whether it's there or not, but you can try to go to my office, and there's bookshelves, and the left side of the bookshelf, one of those shelves, there could be a battery. If there isn't, you will have to get closer. Ow! Don't scare me. Good Taoist. So that was a joke on, oh, very nice, thank you. That was a joke on good Taoist. What was that?
Perception.
Perception. So what we see, what we hear, what we smell, what we touch, what we think we know are sort of a foundation of who we think we are. And as you travel different cultures, you have different experiences, oftentimes those foundations knock loose. And you have to reform your foundation. And we say, be free of those foundations. See all things as potentials. Potentials manifest as this. And just see how it grows on its own. Just see how it flourishes and manifests. Live in that state. Live in that state of beyond senses. Don't let your eyes fool you. Don't let your hearing fool you. Don't let your smell, your touch, or even what you think you know fool you. We had a Chen style master, Chen Youze came, 19th generation of the particular style of Tai Chi, called Chen Tai Chi, considered original form of Tai Chi. And he says, there is a move in Tai Chi called Yin, Kong. Yin means guide. Kong means empty. It's a very Taoist term. Tai Chi has a Taoist foundation. Tai Chi, of course, you know, Wu Ji means the great void, all that potential. Tai Chi means aha, the awakening of the realization of your state of Wu Ji, which separates you from that state of Wu Ji. You're no longer in Wu Ji, you're saying aha. Your recognition makes you name. You're living in Tai Chi where all things are born. So Yin Kong means guiding into emptiness. It's a practice that Taoists do. Guiding into emptiness. The foundation of Taoism is emptiness. Our root, our anchor, as asked by a Buddhist, what is your anchor? And the answer is nothing. Nothingness. A friend of mine made a joke, hey, you're trying to sell nothing. You're selling nothingness. I said, yeah. Yeah, it's a good beginning. So, go beyond perception. Live in this state. Doesn't mean you don't have perception. Just live beyond the state of perception. Live in a state of how to say it, self-awareness, self-acknowledgement, self-possessiveness, self-possessed state, all of those kind of things. Again, don't forget, if we're all one. Don't get confused and mistreat the other one. A good Taoist. There's no such thing as a good Taoist. It's a misconception. There are guidelines. And we only have guidelines, very much like some other culture. Some other cultures don't have rules, they have suggestions. Many other teachings have just suggestions for you to follow. This is just suggestions, so suggestion. How do you go beyond senses? I mean, we rely on them. You need to see, you need to smell, you need to... How do you go beyond it? Anybody? You're back there now.
Why you would go beyond that?
Why not?
Question, but you need them, you have them.
Yeah, I have them. It's very much like that bathroom joke I told earlier. It's a significant joke, it's profound. Don't be attached to that experience. Yes, one of the practices that we do is that, in fact, is it this week's poem, saying, Taoist saying? The leaflet.
Yes, going to the edge?
Something about the edge.
Yes, it's this big.
Could somebody read that out loud? Anyone? Anybody has a loud Gesundheit? Anybody with a loud voice?
Go to the edge. Only then can you see what is on the other side. Sometimes you fall, and maybe you learn to take a step. You learn to run and jump, and maybe even fly from your fall.
Nice. Somebody else read it again. I want another voice. Another voice of the same thing. We were listening to voices now, right? We saw her listening to voices, and you trust what you hear. But you notice the next person that's going to say it, they have a different understanding. The voice comes across differently. In fact, the voice may even come from a different place. So, anybody.
Go to the edge. Only then can you see what is on the other side. Sometimes you fall, and maybe you learn to take a step. You learn to run and jump, and maybe even fly from your fall.
Nice. Beautiful.
Go to the edge. Only then you can see what is on the other side. Sometimes you fall. Maybe you learn to take a step. You learn to run and jump. Maybe even fly from your fall.
Nice. Each one of you have a different understanding from what's written, what's seen, and how you experience it and how you express it. And the Tao says it's all good. And yet all is an illusion. It is your experience. It is your experience. It is my experience. What I read, what I see, what I hear. It's transient. It's gone. It's not there anymore. How real is it? The understanding remains. The experience of that aha remains. So we say, go to the edge with everything. With everything. Today, in class, the question came up. In movement, look for stillness. In stillness, look for movement. So we all know when we're very still, you can see all kinds of activity of the mind, of the emotions, twitching, wiggling the body, all kinds of things going on. Sometimes you can hear gurgling in the stomach. Whatever. Right? You have that experience. And then what? And then what? Anybody?
We go beyond form to find our own true nature.
Okay, let's take that. Go to the edge. You have to see beyond the edge. You have to see beyond seeing. You have to go beyond slow to see movements. You have to go so fast that everything slows down. You have to go so fast. If you go fast, you can't be dispersed. You have to slow down, right? Focus. And then, what do you experience? The other side. From slowness, you can see all the other side, the movements. From speed, you can see the other side of stillness. From here, I can see beyond. But if I'm not here, I can't see beyond. If I don't go beyond, I can never look back. I'm always just here, waiting for something to happen. So we say, take a step in your mind, in your posture, in your practice. Go beyond. Maybe you'll learn to take a step. Those who practice dancing or Qigong, you know that oftentimes you lose your balance. And when you lose your balance, what do? As a general rule, unless you're a very young child, you don't collapse. Even as a young child, you collapse and you get up and you do it again, right? You learn how to take that step. Maybe you learn how to jump. You may even learn how to go beyond that. Beyond that. From this fall. So we say, don't be afraid. Don't live in fear. Don't live in fear of the edge. Don't live in fear of going just a little beyond to experience or to know that information. There's no difference between here and beyond. It's really just where we say, 一念之差, one thought away. I was sharing with Charlene today how I have enjoyed my expansion. And oftentimes these thoughts, these expansions, these ideas are just like, they're like neighbors. Really just on the other side of it. And we can talk about it, I can talk about it, I can articulate it, read about it, write about it, but unless I have the experience, I don't know. Once I have the experience, I'm in a different place already. Time to move. Movement will move you. You don't have to move. The Tao will move, time will move. You're in motion already. You don't need to think about it, worry about it, be afraid of it. Just move. Move with. But we say, move with. You need to contain in this realm your form. Don't lose your form. You have a form, right? You have a form. Don't lose your form. Maintain your form. Maintain your chi in your form. Your energy in your form. So we say you have to, or we suggest you do a thing called shou chi. First you recognize, I am. First you have to recognize. If you don't recognize I am, you're just wondering. So I am. Then you need to always say shou, gather. Gather, gather. Shou. Contain in this form. Because only then can you move it. Then we say, once you move it, learn to transform it. What is the three treasure we're talking about? Jing, Qi, Shen. Essence, energy, spirit. Jing, Qi, Shen, in the dantian, in the field of field, dan means tablets, pills. The field of pills that you can throw seed in and harvest something. In the field of Jing, what is your essence? Ask yourself, if I don't have my essence, how would I feel? What would I be like? Then you can go backwards and say, well, this is my essence. This is my energy. This is my energy. Get in tune with your energy. There are different kinds of energy, by the way. In traditional Chinese medicine, you can have the energy that you breathe called qi. This is energy. You have energy that you got from your hereditary path. It's the energy. There's food that you eat, nutritional energy, combined with thoughts energy. And you have protective energy, that's why you don't get sick. Or that's why you get sick. You have protective energy. And that can be transformed into what we call Shen, spirit. Another realm of being. Being with your Jing is a way of being. Being with your Qi, energy, is a way of being. Being with your Shen is a way of being. They are no different. Just different expression of the same thing. And sometimes we say there are different areas in the body that contains that. For example, if you feel sexual, there's usually a certain area, we'll call it field. If you feel compassion, love, emotions, it's in a certain field, certain area. If you forget everything, you forget where you left your key, you forget where you're going, you forget who you are. If you forget who you are, you're in a different space. And that's usually another field, right? And we'll call it the spirit field, because the minute you think you know who you are, you're no longer living as a spirit, you're living as a human, which is fine. But there's nothing wrong with learning how to live like a spirit, or getting in touch with your spirit and live with your spirit. Hey, who saw that movie? Teresa, you seen Golden Compass?
Oh, yeah.
You did see
Yeah,
it?
with the little girl.
Little girl, and what did the little girl have?
The compass and the bear.
Yeah, but what are those things that are always with her?
Demons.
Hmm?
They're demons.
They're demons. They're demons. Demons that are attached to the human being. Are they human beings or they're not humans?
The people were human, but their demons were animals.
The animals are the demon. They can, and as young child, it can shift form, it can morph. Which is what the five animal and all the animal qigong is about, whether it's Taoist qigong or doing the five animal qigong or doing tiger or leopard. It's about morphing. Okay? But in that particular movie, there's a spirit attachment to the human being. They call it demons, and they, as a young child, you can change form. The story goes. So in the Taoists say, yeah, you have this thing called your spirit within you. So why don't you live in that space for a while and see what it feels like. Each space that you live in have different rules, have different, not rules, but have different manifestation. So you learn about that. If you are a man, there are certain guidelines. If you're a woman, certain guidelines. If you're transsexual, interestingly enough, certain guidelines. So we say, you're aware of those guidelines, but go beyond those guidelines. Don't be trapped by those guidelines. Don't be trapped by the senses or knowledge of those guidelines. Therefore, go beyond the senses. Go even beyond knowing. Go to a place where that exists. Yeah, is it going okay so far? Any questions from you people? No questions. Oh. I like it. I'll ask a question. Who is a new person? We'll find a new person to ask.
I have just a mundane question. How late do the meetings usually continue?
Say it again.
How late do the meetings usually continue?
Well, the answer, you know. Right?
I've never been before, so that's why I'm asking.
That's called a beyond the edge. And the Taoists, a good Taoist, will answer exactly how I answered you. And you will know. And the question to you is, why are you here? Why are you here? What are you doing here?
It's curious.
Curious, I like that. Curious means you want to experience, you want to see, you want to look. You look for what? What is it you're looking for? What? You don't have the answer. That would be nice.
I moved here recently, and I'm interested to see what Taoists are like in the Laurel.
That was not like this. When I'm tired, I go to sleep. Yeah, we're talking about you. Why? Why not? You're here. Yeah, that's wonderful. You need a pillow? You need a pillow from one of the rooms? You okay? All right.
I have a question.
Yes.
I'm really stuck with this statement you just made. There are guidelines to being a man, there's guidelines to being a woman, and there's guidelines to being transsexual. I think that opens up a huge can of worms, and it's easy to say, but I'm not sure where you're going with it, and so I want to hear if you have anything more to say on that.
And your question is?
I want to hear if you have anything, can you explain what you mean by that?
I think I did. I'll say it again. I thought I did. So we have guidelines, right? There are guidelines set up, right? Is there not for you? Is what I'm asking, maybe.
No.
There's no guidelines for
I
you.
think that's a really long discussion, and I disagree that there are guidelines.
Okay. I accept your disagreement.
Okay.
We can move on.
I wanted to understand what you mean, so I can like.
Okay. My proposal is that there are my father would call it thought form. Thought form. And if you adhere to the thought form, even as thought form, you are stuck with thought form. So I say, moi, at this point, go beyond thought form. Is that clear?
No, but you don't have to stay on it.
What's the question, though? Because can I phrase it a different way? Can you phrase it a different way? Maybe I'm not understanding you.
I think maybe what Shifu means is not guidelines or whatever in terms of being a man or woman or transsexual. He means whoever it is you are, whichever kind of person, doesn't matter what kind it is, but whatever kind of person it is, it doesn't have to be those divisions, but whatever kind of person it is, you're stuck with a certain way that you are, and somehow you have to one day go beyond it and see other ways, maybe.
That sounds okay to you?
Is that what?
Huh?
Does it sound okay to you?
Sounds great to me.
Because it was an interpretation of what we were saying, so it's mostly.
I don't know. I'm not sure if she was trying to answer you. Is she answering you? No, she was trying to answer you, I think.
No. Well, I was trying to interpret what you were saying.
Oh, no, you should answer her.
For her.
Forget about me.
Well, but she wants to know what you were saying, so I'm trying to interpret
Okay,
it.
you tell me for yourself.
But you have to confirm if that's right, because she's trying to understand what you said.
I like what you said. I confirmed it already.
Okay.
Are you explaining her question? My question, maybe I didn't understand her question. I hope you understood her question. So don't interpret what I said that she didn't understood. Say to her, it'll make her understand.
I think I understand what she said.
Okay.
And so I'm interpreting what you said for her, but...
Too complicated.
But
See how it can spin? It doesn't have to spin. Because there's some trigger words in there. Trigger concept. Trigger thought form. Don't be stuck with that. Go beyond that. They're just concepts. You had something.
I was just thinking this is a good example of the edge quote that we read 3 times, and that everybody heard it different ways. because my response to what I felt questionable was something different than what you had stated, and just like you said, it spins. And I actually heard the words of your statement and saw the boxes that people get put in or choose to put in or society creates for us. And then I got a block. And then when you said let go of those boundaries, I realized it wasn't about me putting myself in one of those. It's about me challenging myself to see beyond those. And so it actually was a liberating statement when you said it.
Yeah.
So it was just the three different ways people stated it, and then how we took it and how we move with it. So
I like it. I like liberating. Yeah, I think it's important to liberate. Liberate from thoughts. Liberate from preconceived ideas. In Taoist culture, we have the Tao De Jing. Tao is what we're doing here. De is kindness. So we do have a humanistic, a humane input. It's also for your good, because if you're kind, you're like the sun, the moon, water, wind, you're kind like that. So we say it's a good thing. Do I need to brush my teeth?
No, you just need to put it closer to your mouth.
What is Taoism? That which can be said is not Taoism. That which can be named is not Taoism, but it's nice to hear those words. Have somebody sit up here and tell you those words and read about it. But you know that already. We're saying you know that already. Anything else? No questions? So there are a variety of types that you can indulge in Taoist culture. One is like this. The other is exercises, whatever it is that involves an understanding of breathing, energy, harvesting energy, moving, manipulation of energy, transforming energy. And there are those who like to look. They become seers. Whether they're Dr. Seer or they're Feng Shui seers. It doesn't matter. And then there are those who have gifts of hearing, listening, just hearing, listening. Through that, making transformation, just hearing what is not said, to be able to identify that, point that out. Some of us are incantational. Incantational are ones who are able to call. They can call. The character, Ling, is often used in the spirit world. It means, in Japanese, lei. The word leiki, same word, is written as rain, three mouth, and a shaman. And a shaman is written as a line on top, a line on the bottom, a line that connects the top and bottom, and two people next to it, two humans. Two humans who can connect heaven and earth, using sound, voice, vibration to call the rain, connecting, once again, heaven and earth, understands the spirit practice. Ling is a practice. Taoism offers this practice. Incantational practice. Hello, rain. So be connected to even that. So those incantational you can veer off and go many directions. Feng Shui, of course, is seeing and allowing naturalness, ascetic naturalness to exist both in interpersonal, inner alchemical, and inner body, as well as this outer form. So yoga practice, as well as Taoist Qigong practice. So the alchemical practice is another form that a lot of people take, learn about. Tantric yoga, all this tantric Taoist, same thing, just a practice. So there are different forms you can take. There are ritualistic Taoists who are totally into ritual. They can do death and life and, make money come to you, that kind of thing. It's about intent. It's always about intent and gratitude. Being able to mix the two together. So these are a variety of styles of Taoists. Ultimately, we say, just be yourself. All this other stuff is nice. See what your calling is, what your talents are. Each one of you have talents. Each one of you have gifts, precious gifts. But you need to own them. It has to be yours. You have to say, this is me. Otherwise, it's hard to access them. And then just move. Just move. Any questions? Dao ke Dao, Fei Sang Dao. The Dao that can be talked about is not Dao, or Fei Sang also means unusual. The Dao that you understand is the unusual Dao, not ordinary, unordinary Dao. Ming Ke Ming, Fei Sang Ming, that which can be named is not its true name, it doesn't represent everything. Also, you're stuck with the name, so we go beyond the names. Good? Okay. We usually do a little bit of meditation at some point, not very long. Do you have a question?
I have a question. I would like you to expound a little bit on intention.
Intention?
Yeah.
Yeah, good
concept
question.
of intention. I heard a Taoist the other day talk about it being a weakness, but I never saw it that way, so maybe it's an interpretation.
Yeah, I would say it's absolutely right. Because if you speak of intention, you have to go to the place of unintention. And if you speak of weakness, you have to go to the place of strength. So, in an indirect way, that question is answered.
Thank you.
Are you clear?
Yes.
Yeah, it's very clear.
When you ask Taoist questions, you can only expect to be more confused.
I don't think so. I think it's very clear. I think it's very clear. Intention is a weakness, so is unintention. If you want weakness. If you want strength, unintention is strength, intention is strength. So why be attached to intention and unintention? Why go to the world of duality? That's what we say over and over again. Why create a world of duality? Why? Why create a world of excitement and boredom? Knowing and not knowing? Why? Waste of time. Happiness, unhappiness. Waste my time. Sadness and joy, misery, and relatedness, whatever. Yeah, that's what we say. That's how it's. Whatever. There's lots of saying, but it's wonderful. Are we good so far? You meditate? Meditate is a method to enter yourself. Sometimes we play the gong as a vehicle, helping aid. Teresa, what did you learn tonight?
Is there more than one Teresa?
Have her fool. Come on. What did I say about Yin Kong? Yeah, I forgot the story. I didn't finish the story. My teacher talked about Yin Kong, guiding into emptiness. It's a movement that guides you into emptiness. He says, we all know it's trickery, it's illusion that guides you into emptiness. But scholarly people say invite, entice, guide, Dao Yin, to suggest. But we know it's illusion that makes this happen. What a lovely story. Yin Kong. If you never had the experience of Yin Kong before, you should have the experience of Yin Kong. Yin Kong, guiding into emptiness. It's a great experience. You're like, oh, ooh. It's like doing one of those rides, and all of a sudden you realize the thing you're riding on is stopping you flying. You've been guided into emptiness. That feeling. It's a feeling. And we say, maintain that feeling. Maintain that feeling. Maybe you learn how to fly with your fall. So meditation is just sitting quietly, sitting still. In stillness, look for what comes up. Is it a concept? Is it words? Is it feelings? Is it experience? Is it your mother, your father, your friend, whatever, your granddaughter? Is it a movie? Is it food? Whatever. See what comes. We say, let it come, let it go. Only when it comes can it go. If you ignore it, it will remind you, hey, it will always remind you. So let it come. Don't judge it. Judge it. If you judge it, it makes it stuck. I want to make sure your question will answer. She's in a meditative state already. Is your question answered? Not quite. Okay, ask me after. Oh, I love this. I love this. So, take a good posture. My teacher, Guru Mai, has always said a good posture on the inside reflects a good posture on the outside. Or was it the other way around? And we talked about this in class before. The most important things when times are hard is inhale. Exhale.